Her triumphs. I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials.
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story.
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McLean.
We're so glad you've joined us for Her Why, where we celebrate the women who make BYU sports great. Joining us now is BYU women's basketball head coach Amber Whiting. Thanks so much for being here with me, Coach.
You bet. I'm excited.
Yes, good to have you back. Marriott Madness wasn't too long ago, and it was rocking to kick off the season. It was loud. It was packed. That was so cool to see. What kind of energy and excitement did it bring to both the men and women's teams?
Well, first of all, it was really refreshing to have KY ask us to, we did it integrated, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did it part. And that was his idea, and I was really excited about that for the girls especially, or for my women especially, just because, we're always separated. And so being able to do the 3-point shootout together and just kind of celebrate, which was really fun. And it was rocking in there. I also love that it wasn't at midnight because I could get some sleep that night.
I don't blame you.
That was perfect for me.
How important do you think it is to get the fans and the players hyped for the season, to have events like that?
100%. I feel like that's our sixth man, you know what I mean? And that gives us a home court advantage, coming to the Marriott Center, and it's for recruiting too, you know what I mean? So not just wins, but if we can get crowds out like that, it gives us, 2 or 3 wins a year because you just have the energy and you can get through it, you know what I mean? So
you mentioned that you got to collaborate with the men's team, which is so much fun. How did your team react to that event, just being included with everything and being able to do it the men's team?
I think my women have they have good relationships with the men's side, and there's a lot of them that hang out together, and so we're back kind of behind the scenes, and the women were lined up on our side and the men were on their side and just kind of goofing around, and it was just fun to see interactions that way. And then as they come out, I don't know, just being able to cheer for each other. It's more personable. It's more, you know what I mean? And there's just, they've worked out together in the off season. So there's a lot of camaraderie there, and I really like it.
The fans got to meet some of the new faces, including some of your transfer players, Kendra Gillespie, freshman Delaney Gibb. How do you feel like they responded to their very first time kind of experiencing that type of atmosphere?
I loved that my women got to show their personality. If you watched each of them come out, they all got to choose their own walkout song, which was fun of our marketing team to do that. And then they all did a little dance at the end, right? And it just kind of showed their personality because this team has a lot of it. And it was just, I was standing behind and I just got to giggle and laugh at each little thing come out. And it was super fun.
Did you get a walkout song?
Yes.
What was it?
I can't remember.
You're like, it's my favorite. It was my very favorite.
No, my girls picked it for me. Something about being married. I don't know. It wasn't about the message it was about the beat when you come out.
I got you.
And they chose something that I could dance to a little bit. So
I need to go back. Well, I hope there's a recording. I want to go back and see what that was. Your assistant coach Josh Edwards really fired up the crowd with his joy, passion, purpose message. Who came up with the idea to give that message?
So goes into our culture. That's our culture from this year, joy, passion, and purpose. And it's going to be a BYU's women's basketball staple going forward because I feel like we, as a staff, put a lot of time into building that and defining what was important to us and what these women, every day. And it's not just on the basketball court, it's in life, right? To have joy, passion, and purpose. And so it just kind of accumulates, I can't say the word. Everything that we want our women to stand for and to be able to look and lift and serve others and just have that discipline on the court and be able, when you are having the discipline on the court, everything functions, you kind of get in a state of flow, right?
Yeah.
And so then you have more joy when you're doing things that's right and you're doing it together. And so it just, And so for Josh to come out and say that and share that with the crowd, that was very personal for us, and it just showed who we were, too.
I love that. And I think that's, like you said, I think that's a great message just for life, right?
Yeah.
And I love that it starts with joy. You've made some significant changes to your coaching staff, adding Jordan Loera. Does she say it with an accent? I don't know. Lorera, I don't know. and handing the offense to Lee Camard, which is a change. How do you see these adjustments impacting the team this year?
I feel like the women have a defined like role as far as like if they have offensive questions or they want to watch film or they do anything, they go straight to Lee and they know, right? And I feel like Lee has been very good at, I mean, he's pushing us every single day in practice and pushing us to play harder and to play. We think a competitive advantage for our team is playing together. And so creating, the mismatch by drawing 2, kicking, drawing 3, dumping off, like whatever that is. And so hopefully you get to see that translate out on the court and in games this year.
How does that help you to be able to be like you mentioned, all right, if you have a question about the offense, you go to Lee? Because what does that open up for you?
It makes me, I mean, I'm always defensive minded anyway, right? So the girls know, like, in order to get on the court, they have to be playing defense.
Yeah.
But for Lee, like, we talk so much about offense and numbers and what's going to make our women, put them in the best spot scenarios. And it just helps me to be able to have that little breathing room because there's so much else to be able to, NIL and everything else that goes along. And so I just know it's in good hands and I just trust him fully to just take it and run.
I was going to ask, what is it about Lee that made you have that trust in him to give him the entire offense?
We go way back, right? Like he recruited my son on the men's side and then he's recruited Amari throughout the years. And so we've always had a good relationship. And then when I got the job, like it just is a true testament to Lee and his character to stay on and help me. And then he's always been that like rock, that solid within, the staff as we've went through. And just, you have to have somebody that has your back and that has, the same aligns with you. And he is that 100%. And I can trust, like, if I have to go out recruiting or go do something, like, he's got it and he'll hold the women accountable. And we have the same message. And so, like, it's been really, really nice to have him be a part of doing this. And I definitely couldn't do it without him, for sure.
Let's dig into some of your other assistant coaches, starting with Jordan. She's one of your brand new coaches. What does she bring to the staff?
She's going to be over, like, recruiting. And one of my first conversations with Jordan, like, I think I had it set up because I go through like the applicants, right? And so I think I had it set up for like, gave myself like 30 minutes. And then her and I ended up talking for like an hour and a half and we could keep going. Yeah. And I just really connected with her and I realized how easy she was to talk to. She has a lot of experience she played at Oregon and where she's coached and they've had a lot of success there. And I dug into her references and people that didn't even know her. And then when she came on her visit, she was like hyping up her coworker that was applying for the job as well. And so for me, like, she never not once said one bad thing about her, like her current staff or staff that she's been on. Like she just had her people's backs. And I love that loyalty that she had. And so it aligned with the culture and with what we needed. And I also really loved how she connected with our players and our staff. And so for me, it's a true testament of her and her character, right? So when you come into a new staff, if you can come in and bring your ideas to the table and use your voice, but still do it in a way that connects all of us and you're a glue person, I think that was huge. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted her.
A glue person. I love that. Sounds like she was a good get. And then you have John Wardenberg, and he has a great comeback story. What does he bring to your staff?
His wealth of knowledge. Like, I know that he's been a lot of places and done a lot of things. And so, and he's a guy that I can hand, say we have, I don't know, some girl from Serbia, which we don't, but some girl, right? And he's going to do all the check all the boxes in order to help her get here and go through the NCAA stuff, like whatever we have to do to get her here. And he never drops the ball when it comes to stuff like that. And so that for him is one of the strengths that he brings because there's a lot of intricacies that it goes into that. Yeah. And then also like he is more, he'll poke holes in Lee's offense for him, right? And tell, this is how I would attack this. And it gives Lee it challenges him. And then also on the defensive side, he helps me with, what coverages we could do there or, however it's going to work and boil down. And he watches a lot of film. So I feel like we're always prepared going into games with anything that they're going to be throwing at us.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
A lot of puzzle pieces being filled there. And then a name that we recognize really well is Keilani Unga. And she played here at BYU, was on the UVU staff. What made you want to bring her back here to BYU?
I was super excited because originally like a year ago, I think, when, I had an opening, I thought of her, right? But she had just stepped away to have her baby. And so when she applied again, like I called her, and she just had this mindset of, I want to give back. And she's that person that you want to be her best friend. You know what I mean? Like and from the day she walked in our office, she's been that joyous, energetic, like everybody loves to be around her, and she pushes me a little bit outside of my comfort zone with things that she does. But she's just so fun to have around. And my women need that. They need to have somebody to go to. I also love that she's a mom, and a mom of younger kids, so that it shows that you can work and do this and be a mom. And she's a phenomenal mother.
Right.
Like and her kids are around us all the time. And, I just love that helps our women see what we can accomplish. You don't have to be either or, you can do both. And she just has that strength about her. And every single day she brings just that smile and joy in the office that I love to have. And then outside or out on the court, she helps with our big. She's like our post coach, right? And she she has an eye for things and a knack for things and a way to talk to us, and to the women, just very straightforward, and and I really love that about her, that she brings up. Plus she loves BYU.
I love that.
Yeah.
I played rec ball against Kaylani, and it was the worst decision I've ever made in my life. I don't think I've ever been the same since. She's so dang tough.
Well, I like to create like a family atmosphere, right? Like within our program, and you can't just talk it. You have to actually, so Harvey will stop by every once in a while, and having him a part of the football team is huge. But just that funness and having him stop by and add that to our staff.
He's awesome.
Oh, he is amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He writes little everything he opens up. He said his meetings with his running backs, he has something on the board that he writes and challenges their brain to wake them up. So he had us doing that one day, and it was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to know, what are some of the ways that Kaylani takes you out of your comfort zone?
Oh, shoot. Okay. I drink a Zip Fizz in the afternoon, to just kind of, sometimes you got to get through the day. And she had me dry shot one time, and it burned my nose and did so many things. So just random stuff like that. Or when we went on our team retreat, I think she had, who was it? I think it was one of our GAs, CC, and then Allie and Mercedes up to 4 a.m. I cannot function with that. And she was just powering through, you know what I mean? And just
She's got 5 kids. I
know. And some of the funny stories that she gives us, and we're always just laughing. She's just so fun.
I love that so much. That's so awesome. You mentioned that going into year 2 of the Big 12, there's going to be a lot of changes. You guys are switching a lot of things up, and I know one of those things was handing the offense over to Lee. What are some of the different things we're going to be seeing on the offensive side of the ball in year 2 of the Big 12?
For sure, the ability to share it. I want us to be able to find the mismatches, and basketball becomes so easy when you can share it, create a mismatch, and kick it to your teammate, right? So that for sure, we want to play faster. And then defensively, we're a lot deeper this year. So I want to be able to rotate more and have us be able to pick up more. And so I feel like we have the depth will really help us and be able to play together. I feel like that's a huge competitive advantage for us.
We're going to get into some of the new faces that are coming on a little bit later, but let's talk about the returning players. You got Lauren Davenport, Emma Calvert, Amari, Heather Hampson, and then you got Ari Mackey-Williams back from injury. What do you think they're going to bring to this season as far as experience and leadership goes?
Experience for sure. Being in the Big 12, it's a lot different. But I feel like that core group gives us a really good base for what we want to build and do. They align with everything that we're trying to input with, culturally wise, on the court wise, off the court wise. They share the ball. They're incredibly competitive. And so I feel like they're going to, just lead the way as far as that goes.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Coach Whiting talks about the new faces and new focus for year 2 in the Big 12. This is Her Why. Hey, Cougar fans, this is Lauren McLean. We have some amazing shows here at BYU Radio, including the Big Stories podcast, where host Cleon Walsh shares real-life stories from the Big 12 and beyond. Last season, Cleon brought you stories about walk-on TCU point guard Darius Ford, who went from homeless to college hoopster. And Kansas play-by-play announcer Brian Haney shared how he organized a basketball tournament to raise money for kids with cancer. This season, the podcast traveled to Tucson, Waco, Houston, Orlando, and other cities to bring you more amazing and inspiring tales. So check out Big Stories wherever you find podcasts or on the BYU Radio app. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McLean with BYU women's basketball head coach Amber Whiting. So you got a mix of returning players, transfers, and young talent. Let's talk about some of the new faces. So walk me through what you like about your 4 transfers. Maria Hudgens, Hattie Ogden, Kendra Gillespie, and Camry Congdon.
Okay. It's Mariah.
Mariah, okay.
Yes, she'll get mad if we spell.
No, this is what I need. I need some help with these names.
Yeah, she's, so I'll just start with Camry. So, a lot of experience. She played at Utah, transferred to Cal. She's graduated, got married this summer. And so for me, wanting her, she just gives us that experience. She's an added layer of ball handling and playmaking. And then she can really shoot it. She has a great mid-range pull-up. And so she's like, one thing I love about Kim off the court is she's like that level head, like just calm within the storm. Right. And so I just feel like she's going to bring a lot of that to the table. And it was kind of easy to get her to come here just because, I mean, she graduated, she's getting married, her husband's at UVU. And so that was just kind of a no-brainer to bring her back home and be able to play in front of her family, like for her last year. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What about Mariah?
Mariah comes from Santa Clara, and she's a shooter. When we played Santa Clara, not last year because she was hurt, but the year before, she is one of the ones that killed us. Just, being able to pick and pop. And I love her energy, and I love her effort, and I love that she brings that added depth to the guard line.
And then Hattie Ogden.
And Hattie comes from Buffalo. She is another shooter, knockdown shooter. So if we can, space her out to the corner, and she can make money all day right there. And so I love having like shooters. Shooter. Like we got to have driving lanes. We got to space the court. And when you have shooters, that's very easy to do. And
then Kendra Gillespie.
Kendra is a big force inside. She has really good footwork, really good angles off the pick and roll. She is like, if you ever meet or get to talk to Kendra, like she's just that kid that BYU needs. You know what I mean? Like she's solid of the earth. She's very perceptive when it comes to people. Like I can walk in a gym and say I had a hard day. She can walk over, coach, and just put her arm around me. And she knows by how, you know what I mean? Like, and so she's very perceptive as far as that goes. And I think every single player on this team has been drawn to her at one point or another, being able just to talk to her. And so for me, that glue that she can bring to, bridge the gap between young ones, old ones, however that is, because she is a senior. She's a 5th-year senior. So that really helps us.
That's so cool. With so many transfers coming from different places and they've experienced different programs and how they run things, how do you get them integrated and quickly into BYU's way of doing things?
Well, first off the bat, the first thing I did was roll out our culture, and we had a culture night, right, where we just talked about how we do things, what's expected, what it looks like, and then holding the line, holding everybody accountable. And I feel like this summer for sure has been a complete change as far as that goes. And I love that the newcomers, they come in, they've been other places, which is really good. So they can compare of how good it feels here. And I can say that with confidence because I know that they've talked about it, you know what I mean? And they've never had, X, Y, and Z at their other programs or had a coach that they can sit down and my door's always open and just talk with. And so for me, that's super important because I want to be able to, it's going to be highs and lows. It always is. The seasons, peaks and valleys. And so, when you have those relationships and it gets to a low point, it's going to be those points where we can lean into each other and just actually bounce back together,
I love that. I love that you have that kind of open door policy. Like if there's a problem, you can come talk to me directly.
Yep.
I love that. Let's talk about your highly touted freshman group because there's some really good girls that are coming in, women, I should say. Delaney Gibb, Cambry Barber, Brinley Cannon, Sarah Bartholomew, and Naya Tanuvasa. You can talk about them kind of as a whole unless you want to do it individually, but what are your expectations for this young group coming into this season?
I've coached a couple of them before, So I knew who they were and like the competitive drive that they have, right? So from day one after practice, they're all in the gym shooting. Like they just don't leave until they're, they feel like they've got it, they're done. And so I love that they bring that they drive that. I also love how they're competitive and they don't back down to anybody. And I also love the personalities that they bring, and they just want to be whatever we need, they want to bring it. And so it just as a whole, they just bring that. And then individually, they are all different in some sort of way. Like there's no two players that are the same or play like each other. And so, I mean, Delaney, she's going to be a great playmaking guard for us that can knock down a shot. Her passing ability is incredible. And then you got Brinley, her length is unmatched, and sometimes you just think you have a pass through, and she does not. She's just so long. And then her ability to shoot, and she's sneakily effective around the rim. Like it's crazy to me watching her. And I've coached both of them before, like on the Dita circuit, and so I knew them. And then Cambry, her motor is crazy. Like she's out rebounding everybody all the time, right? And she can just get up, and she's super fast. And then you got Sarah, who can go inside, and she is super smart, and her IQ, like her and Naya both come from Nancy at Lone Peak, and the way that they play basketball is one of my favorite things because they just play together as a team, and they're super smart. They know the reads, and so they're integrating very nicely. And Naya is just like a super shifty guard that she'll pick up for us, and she'll do all the little dirty things that you need somebody to do, and so. They all come in and bring their own individual stuff, but then as a collective group, they just kind of mold within the team and help us be that much better.
When you look at the group you have, how does it make you feel about just looking forward to the future?
I get excited. I love going down to practice every single day. It's like my therapy, right? I tell them that all the time because they have so much energy and are so vibrant. And then you get to go down there and they get to compete with each other, and they knock each other off on their heads sometimes, and they'll help each other up, and we go back at it. And so that for me is been very, very good to see, because there's no like, oh shoot, she's been here before, I need to, you know what I mean? There's no deferring. Everybody's just fighting and competing, and I love it.
You were picked 12th out of 16 teams in the Big 12's preseason poll. How are you and the team feeling about that preseason ranking?
I don't really put a lot of stock into that because I love what our football team's doing right now, right? Like, people want to count people out, and that's fine. But obviously, when you have the transfer portal, you don't know what everybody's going to look like until it rolls out.
Right.
And so, we got transfers in, and we have some new freshmen in, and I feel like we got better. And I don't worry about the rankings. It's like, oh, you know what I mean? We're going to go prove people wrong. That's okay. And that's what I want my girls to do that, is just play with a chip on their shoulder, but just honestly take one game at a time. The season hasn't even started. Can we just, get our exhibition first, get our scrimmage first, right? And then our exhibition. Like, I don't ever tell them, let's, talk about the future to the point where, they get overwhelmed. We just, they're so young, and there's, so young. We got a lot to learn still.
Right.
And so every day we just focus on the day at hand.
This is your second year in the Big 12, like we mentioned. What do you feel like now, looking back, and you've had a little bit of time to prepare? What are some of the biggest lessons you learned from year one in the Big 12?
The difference in my recruiting, that has to be the way is that it's played as far as like how the physicality goes. And so like I've asked my strength coach, like we got to put on more muscle. Yeah. We got to get, in better shape. We got to do a lot of things in that nature. We got to shoot more. Like we've got to be able to knock down threes. And so I can't recruit people that can't shoot. That's just how it is. And so even kids that, are borderline, I got to put them in the gym, and they got to get working on it so they can bring that to the table for us too.
Oh man. With the graduation of key players like Lauren Gus, and she's obviously the first one that comes to mind because she was just a rebounding machine. How do you address that gap that she kind of leaves in the lineup?
There's not going to be one person that steps in to take that, and so the weight of that, I think I've just asked people across the board, everyone's got to go rebound more. So if everyone across the board gets, 2 more rebounds a game, we can try and make up for what we've lost, right? So in that nature, I don't want to put it on one person, but it's going to be a lot of them that got to step up and step to the table. And with Lauren leaving and Smiley leaving, like I feel like we got a big shoes to fill. And so I got people that are hungry to do it, which is exciting.
Your team, like you mentioned, has been focusing on playing faster. You said they got to take more shots. They got to hit those shots from beyond the arc. What's the adjustment been like so far in practice, kind of speeding things up?
Just talking with we had a whole staff meeting this morning and just seeing where our numbers are from this year to last year, just seeing where our training is, our catapult numbers from this year to last year, and being able to see that, like, I feel like we're trending in the right direction as far as that goes. When
you look at who you have on your team this year, how do you feel like you're going to have a competitive edge in the Big 12?
I got a lot of unselfish players. And I feel like I keep saying it over and over, but playing together we're not going to be bigger, faster, stronger than any team in the Big 12. Maybe some, right? But just being able to play together, being able to play for each other, being able to create that mismatch and not, draw two and kick, draw two and dump it off. Like, there's going to be that. And the way that they play off each other and, like, say somebody gets stuck, they make a, face cut to the rim. And it's just so nice and refreshing to see that they're just trying to do it together.
Yeah. Your daughter, Amari, she's now fully recovered, hopefully, right, from that ACL injury, because she mentioned to us that even last season she didn't feel like she was fully where she needed to be. How do you feel like her return and hopefully 100% healthy will impact the team?
I've really talked to her. Well, she struggled in some areas last year and being able to trust her body. And I was very just a couple focus things, like don't turn over the ball, get us in offense and just play defense. Right. So, but now with Smy gone, Smy was a huge defender for us. So I feel like Amari's got to step up in that nature and take more of that load off on that end. And then I'm just going to continue to push her to kick the ball up the court, no turnovers, get us in an offense, but also to be that vocal leader out there, just because I know that she is loud. She is, and just making sure that we stay together. That's what I want from her out there.
You mentioned how physical the Big 12 is. How do you prepare your players in practice, especially those that haven't played in the Big 12 so far, for that type of physicality?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if you can prepare them, right? Yeah. It's got to be a mindset that you go in mentally. I know I'm going to get hit. I know I'm going to get knocked off. I know I'm going to get fouled and it's not going to call. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah. You just go, and you just play that tough game. And we obviously play boys in practice, which helps. We compete in practice, which helps. But I don't think you can, after you get your first one or two games, then you're like, okay, this is how it is. If you haven't played there before, right? This is what's coming every night out. And so then you kind of just realize. And one thing I keep harping on to our women is every night out, we get to play the best of the best. Right now we have 2 in the top 10 ranked, right, in the country. So we get a chance almost every night out to knock off someone. And so if that doesn't get you up and get you excited, I don't know what does.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you get to have that underdog mentality, which there's
love.
strength in
I
that
know.
as well, right?
I love it.
You're keep ranking us that 12th in the Big 12. That's great. The college basketball landscape is just constantly changing. And I almost feel bad for coaches sometimes when I see all the stuff that you guys have to deal with. You got NIL, you got the transfer portal dynamics. How do you feel like you personally are adapting to all these changes that continuously happen?
Calling my compliance guy all the time. Is this legal?
Oh my gosh.
Because I always want to play by the rules and do the right things the right way. But you have to adapt and we have to be adaptable. And so I've been working really, really hard outside of the office, outside of the court, to be able to try and, raise money and do things that, and it's not just because I want connections. I don't want it to just be a one and done type thing, right? So forming those real in life connections for me is super important, because then getting my players with people that can help our program and support our program, because if you can get to know my women, you want to be around us and you want to help us. And so for me, that's super important. And I just don't like to be transactional. I like to be relationship based. And so that's a part of me, and that takes probably a little bit more work, but that's okay.
But I love that. I feel like that's how it should be, right? When it comes to, you're talking about human beings and players, and you love them, and they're incredible. I want to know, what goals do you have? Do you guys start with preseason goals of what you want to accomplish in the postseason, or is it more of, we're going to take this one day at a time, one game at a time, and see where we go?
I have my own personal goals of where I want to see us, but I have the girls set individual goals, and then at the end of it, they set like a team collective, like what they want to see from us, right? So for me, that's more consistent, because I feel like you always have your end goal. You always have where you want to end up. You always have that you want to be in March Madness. You always have that you want to get to, Final Four, whatever that is. But you can't set that goal without setting daily goals every single day. And how am I going to get 1% better today? How am I going to get 1% better this week? You know what I mean? And so it has to start there and start daily, so then it can end up in the long run.
You got to have a good mix of both of those.
Yep.
Your players speak really highly of your toughness and your competitive spirit. How do you try and instill those qualities on a daily basis to your team? Maybe you don't have to, because maybe they just come out that way.
It starts with recruiting. Yeah. You got to know who they are and what they are, right? When you go out and you recruit, like I'm not going to recruit a kid that's allergic to defense. Like that's just not who I am. I like the kids that are going to, get knocked down and hop back up, or, get a bloody lip and come right back at you. And so just watching that on the recruiting trail is kids you're looking for. And then when you get to actual BYU and get on court, I feel like there's a lot of times like I don't give them excuses. I don't give them, we're going to go and we're going to go hard. But they also, it's very easy to go hard when you're in relationships built with love and trust. Yeah. And so like if I can pour into them when it becomes hard, they're going to give it back to me. And I feel like that's like more of who I am, just checking on them and making sure they're good. And then when it comes time to practice, like the ball gets tipped and I don't let back, and so we go hard. And so that they're going to always know that, like, I'm not going to ever, you missed that box out. It's okay. No, we're going to run for that.
That's not you.
And then we're going to try it again. You know what I mean? So that's just who I am. And I don't know, hopefully it comes across.
My last question for you is, when you look forward to the season, who you're going to play and what's to come, what makes you most excited heading into year 2 in the Big 12?
I feel like last year we had a lot of injuries, right? So you deal with different problems. And then this year we got a lot of depth. So now I'm going to deal with different problems, right? So
who do I play?
Yeah. And so keeping the girls healthy, that's first and foremost, so we can, put our best foot forward. But then that's a good problem to have for me. Oh, yeah. And so just dealing with that on the daily, having those conversations, looking at mismatches, looking at who we're playing, who's playing well, like that's what my job is. And so I just try and do that the best of my ability, and hopefully the end result equals wins.
I'm here with Amber Whiting, BYU women's basketball head coach. Amber, you're incredible. I can't wait to watch your team. Thanks so much for taking the time with me.
Thank you. That was fun.
Thanks also to Annie Robinson and Sydney Simpson for producing this episode. Cleon Wall is the senior producer. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.